There we go. Awesome, awesome. Okay, here we go. Welcome to For the Love of Literacy, Meg. Welcome to For the Love of Literacy, Meg. I am so thrilled you could join me today. And how are you doing?
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's been a little time coming, like it's been in the works. So, would you mind introducing yourself to our audience today?
I'd love to. So, my name is Meg, and I am a poet and a writer and a children's book author living in Austin, Texas. And I'm here to talk about um, the book I wrote, The Moonies Journey to the Total Solar Eclipse. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I've got it back here too, so that way, we've got two copies of it going, and I've got one right here too. And this part was so fun. My kids were like really excited about this because when we went to watch the eclipse in October, we were like, "Oh, we need the glasses," and we were like asking around who's already like got a few, and my mother-in-law had a few. And then we got this package and we're like, we're all set for April. Like, yes, like, because they really enjoyed it. But obviously, you don't want to look at an eclipse without the proper eyewear. And you're not going to see it anyway. You're not going to see it as it
Right.
is. So, what got you into writing, and specifically, why did you write the Moonies?
Well, I've always been into writing. I feel like the way that most writers are kind of always into writing, where it just kind of starts inside of you and it never really goes away. At least that was,
That is, isn't that true? Yeah.
yeah, just putting together little books in school and stuff like that. And so yeah, I just committed to it. And then the Moonies came out of, well, I'm a creative nonfiction writer by trade, and so this is actually sort of a creative nonfiction children's book because it's based on both the science of the eclipse, but also a real life experience. My family in 2017 was on our way to see a total solar eclipse in Nashville, and it was like this big thing. Like, we were obviously like super amped up for it. And then we get to Nashville, we're on top of this museum building, and then there is cloud interference, and like this cloud passes in
Oh,
front.
oh,
And it was truthfully hilarious. And it just felt like one of those that's just life moments. And
right.
there was still the cool, surrounding effects of it got dark and, we could hear crickets and and all the uncanniness. But yeah, so the Moonies was kind of like, let's imagine if this family actually succeeded in seeing the total solar eclipse
Right.
on their second birthday.
I
So
love that. Okay, so that's fun. There's two things there that I'm like taking away. One is it's incredibly difficult, in my opinion, to write and to write for children. But then you've gone ahead and made it even more so to do children's nonfiction, right? And that is awesome because we need more children's nonfiction. I say that because as a former teacher and a mom, I feel like um, I have one kid who's particularly driven or pulled towards scientific topics because that's who he is. But for my other children, especially the youngest, like that's a little bit of a harder ask in some ways, right? So, but I feel like some authors, and myself included, shy away from that and just say, well, it's easier to write to fiction, or maybe I'm going to appeal to a bigger audience. That's what I'm going to stick with. So kudos
mhm.
to you for like being someone ready to branch into that category, A. And then B, so the family in the book, is that basically based on your family? Is that like your family lineup?
Loosely, it's not everyone in my family, but
Okay.
yeah, kind of the energies that were at play at the time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so you were talking about the cloud cover. I remember that. Oh my word. That is just wild. Like, because you guys are in Texas, right? So you drove to Nashville for it. And then, oh my goodness, that's so
Well,
sad.
we were actually in Memphis at the
Oh, you
time.
were in Memphis. Okay. So it wasn't like hours upon hours of driving, but still packed up in the car, went, all systems go. And then you get there and there's some cloud cover and you're like, are you kidding? Your parents are like, let's try again. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. That is, wow. And that's, I think that personally, if there is an experience or a person that you can base your writing on, the better. Just
Mhm.
because there are so many different options for fiction that, like, if you have a little bit of truth, or like for me, like basing my character off people I know,
Right.
it's a lot easier to predict what that character will do in a given situation. But with nonfiction, you're of course and I'm dabbling in that a little bit right now. So I'm speaking vaguely because I'm learning about it as we speak. But with nonfiction, you have to do your research and you have to have, if it's science, like I'm writing with an author, she's already published a few books, but I'm taking over these magic portal books, being the author, and she's just working on the illustrations. So I'm writing one about here in Utah. There's a little story to go with it, but it's like the facts in it are nonfiction. So you have to do your research. It's about an
Right.
owl and cougars and their patterns and lifestyles. While there's dialogue and other things going on, then at the end there's like two big pages dedicated to facts, right? So that scientific side to it. So I can appreciate that. How long did it take you to write this book and to actually get it published?
I feel like the whole process was maybe a little over a year, but I feel like the creative process of writing it, I don't know what your experience is like, but I feel like sometimes that part happens a little faster. It's just like,
Right? Yeah.
I mean, of course, the research aspect though definitely calls for more pause for sure. And like really making sure everything is sort of singing with all the other pieces so that it doesn't feel, like super academic or like wouldn't
Yeah.
be accessible or something. Yeah.
You want it to be accessible and exciting, but not, yeah, like not, it's not a textbook, right? Oh my goodness. I've always wondered, how do those people do that job? Because I don't think there was actually someone that reached out and wanted to come on the podcast, and they had done like a medical or an anatomy textbook for college. And I was like, bless your soul, but I don't even know what we would talk about because that's still literacy, don't get me wrong, but generally the guests on this show are publishers, writers, editors, teachers, educators that are involved with children. So even though it's not a show that like children are always listening to, it is intended for those who work with kids. And
Yeah.
so like I've had people reach out to me, oh, I've got this thriller, this mystery novel. Would you review it for me and then have me on your show? And it's like always tricky because I'm like, I have to have certain parameters though, because I could honestly, and I think in my first and second seasons, I did have like all kinds of people here that
Yeah.
were writing or, journaling and doing all kinds of things. And then I just got to be too much. So like coming back to home base, I feel like um, it's a lot easier to deal with this category and to be dealing with it is what I mean is like talking about it a lot because I've spent a lot of time either tutoring kids, teaching kids, or raising my own kids. And
Right.
then writing a little bit too, but
Mm.
I think that we need to make writing both educational and exciting for kids. And that is kind of a catch 22 because there are some kids, like I said, like my son, that are drawn to this. Like he loved it when we got this package. He was like pulling out like the moon pies and like the solar snap and like, mom, we can take pictures. If you put this on your phone, don't lose that kind of thing. And just out of excited, right? And then my daughter's kind of like, why are you getting excited? Because for her, unicorns are life. So
Yeah.
we go to
Yeah.
the library and she either picks out or we reserve 10 to 15 unicorn books. And that's just her thing. Seek and finds also are very fun and she's very good at them. And everyone has their own thing. So that's the hard part, I think, is like, how do you appeal to the kids that maybe aren't as likely to pick this up or to like look into it? Like, what do you
Right.
do marketing wise, or what does your team do to like make it stand out?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like for myself, something about the characters being based on real people who were different was like super important for me. Like I really wanted them to feel like they had their own personalities that maybe other people could plug into, so that it would feel like, oh, okay, like this character is like not into the eclipse, and like this character is like so into the eclipse, and like just kind of how because I feel like that's just, I don't know, I feel like those are just family dynamics. Like there's always going to
Mhm.
be these funny little textures that come up. So, and then honestly, I don't know, I wasn't like calculating that per se while I was writing it, but kind of after the fact, I was like, oh wow, like that's so crazy how that happened, I guess. Just because, and then also like, I don't know, I felt the need to include my dog just because I feel like if my dog had been there, maybe something different would have happened. And this is just because
Yeah.
I imbued my dog with like magical qualities that he may or may not have. But,
That's
but
awesome. That is an appealing thing though, right? Because so just going back even to the example from earlier, like my youngest, maybe she's not going to reach for this right now, but she loves dogs. She loves dogs
yeah,
and ducks. I don't
yeah.
know why ducks, baby ducks specifically, because it's a color thing. She likes the yellow, fluffy little cute little ducks. But she loves dogs. We go on walks and she sees dogs at the library or at church or anywhere, and she sees dogs. So for her, if she like, is doing her thing and my son and I are reading the book together, but then she hears or sees the dog in the illustration, and she maybe buys into it a little bit. So that's an example of, or like why I used a unicorn as basically her sidekick. It's a stuffed animal, but the unicorn comes to life and does stuff throughout the book. And then the kids are supposed to be looking for the unicorn as they read or whatever. Kind of just have to start being a little bit creative, right? And that's the beauty of a children's book, is that the illustrations can carry a lot of that power, where you're not just relying on the words, but the words are also very important, because you don't
Mhm.
want to lose all the kids, right? And so, because I say that as a very wordy birdie, and knowing that I can always, that less is more as far as dialogue and words go. But some of my favorite children's books to this day are kind of lengthier ones, like Petunia, Stella Luna, some of the Dr. Seuss ones,
Yeah.
Mulberry. You know what I mean? So it's just funny because the industry for children's books has changed so much that even with like a nonfiction book, you probably still felt like you needed to try to fit a certain page and word requirement. And
Mhm.
that wasn't the case. I don't know when this changed. Like, I actually do not know. But by the time I arrived on the scene 3 years ago, that's what I was being met with was, no, we don't do that anymore unless you're wanting to make this into a chapter or a graphic novel or, other
Mhm.
options, which I was like, no, Sophie is totally a children's book. I will do what I need to do to make it that. But it's so interesting because your book, just a children's book, can take so long to edit,
Mhm.
revise, and get feedback on, to really get it to where you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm done looking at it. It needs to go out into the world now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that process alone is its own journey of
Yeah.
releasing. Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
was the timing for you? Because I love that you published it in, well, actually, I didn't look up your publishing date. When did you publish?
Early
2022.
2022. Yeah.
So this was before the eclipse last year, but if people are learning about it now, it's like perfect for getting ready for April. April 8th. Is it the 8th?
Yes. April 8th.
I was like, I've seen that date on something here, on a few somethings. Yeah. So October 14th was the annular, and the
Mhm.
total eclipse is coming up April 8th.
Right.
I'm like that. Even though I love writing, like I always loved science in school, and I love teaching science in fourth grade, because that's when they first really start doing it, the science fair, the experiments and all that. And so like for a minute, I just want to go back in time and like share this with my class, because like some of them would just be so excited. And so that's actually an important point. that I should bring up, where can we direct people to learn more about your book and more about your future work or any research you've done? Where should they go?
Thank you. Yeah. So my website is megjerit.com. And I'm on Instagram at meditate. So it's meditate, but with a G. And
Okay.
yeah, and then the most information about the eclipse though is going to be at eclipseglasses.com.
Okay.
Yeah, American Paper Optics has got everything from an interactive map so you can see like, you know, based on where you are at in the world, what is your visibility going to be, and
Oh yeah.
tons of information. Yeah.
Like best place to go, because I know my father-in-law was like mentioning, oh, we're gonna drive to this part of Utah for
Mhm.
the annular eclipse. And I'm like, how do you know, like 4 or 5 hours south that that's the best place? So he must have had a map or something, because he was like going on about insisting on it was worth braving the traffic. And that very day, we had a yard sale scheduled, like our own that we were running. And so we were outside, right? Anyway, I got the classes out for my kids and we watched it throughout that morning. And it was so cool while I was helping a customer and everything just kind of got darker for a second. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go grab classes, be right back. I had like no qualms, but then I was like, I can see now the beauty of driving away and being away from people to like really observe it in its fullness. But my son basically was there the whole time, just glued with the glasses, just
Oh,
loving it.
awesome.
So, okay, I have those websites down and your Instagram. Um, how would you describe watching an eclipse to others? Why is it so neat? Like, pretend for a second that I didn't just tell you that we, saw it or that I've seen other ones. What, like, how would you get someone that's not really familiar with it, like, excited to investigate, to go view one for themselves?
I I keep saying this because it's one of those things where it like just came out of my mouth and I was like, that feels so true to what it actually felt like to watch it, but it really feels like watching a miracle in the sky. Like it feels like, oh my gosh, like is this actually happening right now? And I feel really grateful because like those solar snaps you had up earlier, like I took so many photos of the annular because I was like, wait, I can actually capture this and there's enough time to actually take
Right.
pictures and and so I'm so excited for the total because the annular, I just was like, I lost my mind. I was like, this is so beautiful just to see these planets that one, for these moments.
Right.
Yeah.
It was pretty miraculous. I like that description because I had my phone out, of course, but there's no way to, even with me holding the glasses and the phone behind the glasses. I mean, you can see this little kind of reddish orange thumbnail almost. And that's the best I got. But like, it was more like the memory of like looking at it with my kids and
Mhm.
analyzing it and how long it was taking and all of that. That was just like, we're so like, we're like, this was on the calendar. We're going to see the one in April. We're going to make the plans. And so it's cool as your book just kind of can hype kids up or help educate them. So with that, because I think it's a steal, in that it would be so helpful to add that layer. Like in schools, have you done story times or gone to the libraries to do that, or author signings, kind of raising awareness about it?
So that's on the calendar for March, kind of a little closer to when it's happening.
Yeah.
Just I feel like everyone's attention span is shorter. I don't know. So I'm like, let's just put these things next to each other.
Right.
But yeah, like I don't know. I think that sort of I never saw an eclipse as a kid. And so for me, I'm just like, what would that have been like
Right.
to witness something like that as a child? Like, what would it be like to see that through a child's eyes? And then also, what would it be like to move forward in your life with this kind of memory? of witnessing something so celestial. Because I
Right.
mean, I guess I saw a shooting star when I was a teenager, and that was really cool. But an
Those
eclipse,
are really cool. I've only seen one. I was a young adult, but it still was just like so indelible in my memory, right? Like you, yeah, you can't replace that. But yeah, you're kind of curious now. What would your reaction have been, or what would your thoughts have been as a kid, and how maybe would that have even influenced how you see it, but how you're trying to write it for kids, right? Because that
yeah,
in and of itself is quite the tricky process. How do I appeal to the kids and not make it too childish, right? You're teaching them, but you like want them to be excited and animated and encouraged to learn, not shut off. So I think that's,
right.
yeah, that's kind of curious, kind of an interesting thought. And is your family, so this is just something else I was wondering, is your family fairly scientific, into science? Do you have scientists, like your parents do? Are their careers scientific? Or are you guys just like, this is really cool and this is kind of going to be our family thing and we're going to, go chase the eclipse?
Well, I mean, this is funny. So my parents are not really sciencey people, but my brother is a science genius. I mean, he's super, super smart. So I feel like all of this is definitely in his realm. And then I think I'm just a nerd. Like I just love learning things. So I feel
That's a
like,
good, yeah,
yeah, but I definitely grew up with, eclipse glasses and 3D glasses just around. And so it was definitely the framework for that curiosity was definitely built in.
that's
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, I just thought I would ask because I was like, how loosely is this family like based on your family? Like, because the parents in the book are both scientists. So he's an astronomer, right?
Mhm.
And then she is, I don't
She's
remember.
an
Oh, an
astrologer.
astrologer. So she looks at like the constellations, and that's cool. That is really cool. I one of my only regrets for the time I spent in college is that I didn't take astrology. And so many people recommend it to me, and how cool it was. And I had read a lot about different horoscopes and astrology in general,
Mhm.
but I just lament that even though my schedule was busy, that I didn't just pop it on that schedule, because I can't go back and take the class now, but it would have been really cool.
I can agree. I don't think I ever had that option.
Oh, really?
I wish if it existed, I really missed out then. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, and I know it didn't just exist after, because I think one of my brothers or sister took it. We all went to BYU, and so I think I'll have to look and figure out who it was, but it might be my youngest brother. But I was like, yeah, that was an option while I was there, and I still have FOMO. Years later, I'm not gonna say how many years later, that I did not get enrolled in that class just because I was there, and it was, no, it didn't contribute to my major to be in elementary education, to be a teacher,
Mhm.
but it would have been fun, and maybe it would have made for some more tasty tidbits of information while I was teaching. And anyway, so cool. So I was really excited actually when I heard from, is it Fiber Optics? Is that the group that sent me the package?
It's
What's
American paper optics.
American Paper? Why did I say Fiber Optics? I mean, I know why I did, but
It's close enough.
too bad this is going to be published. We are not going to erase that. That has to stay in here. Fiber Optics. Okay. American Paper Optics. No, that's
Yeah.
great,
Yeah.
but plastic. Because we got to save this. I am totally using this to take solar for the solar snap. That is too cool. Wow. And I actually had not heard, because there's a photo app too, it says, but I had not even heard that you could do that, because I knew of different telescopes and things that you can take really detailed video or pictures with, and they're super expensive and not even within the realm of my budget. So I was like, well, that's not going to happen. but then this, and I mean, just so many cool things. And their website is eclipseglasses.com, right? So people can go there and buy glasses for the eclipse. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's perfect. It
There's
really,
families,
everything.
whatever, everyone, yeah, grandmas and grandpas, daycare centers,
Yeah.
whatever's going on that day, wherever you are. That's so cool. And I guess for me, the other thing that's cool is not just that it's scientific and there's this whole realm and kind of curiosity and mystery and learning more, but then there's just the fact that like I can be watching it here and a friend of mine can be watching it in Australia or Jamaica or California or Virginia, where my family lives, just at the same time, right? Like each in our time zones, but like I think that's what's always been cool to me too about the moon or other things is like that night sky connects us all, or the
Yeah.
thought that like there are things that like even though you're not physically in the presence of people in that moment, you know that you're experiencing it with people, and so it's like that much more powerful. Just
Definitely.
kind of the
No,
miracle in the sky, like you said.
that's so beautiful. I love that. I think that's so true because it really is, it's something so huge that I don't know, you just feel how it holds everybody in those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can just kind of connect and add that other layer. But anyway, sorry, I don't know why I'm going hoarse. I'm getting emotional. Thank you so much, Meg, for your time today because it's just been like really fun and just a different kind of feel. I don't think I've really had a lot of nonfiction authors on the show before, and definitely not with this much of a scientific basis. So this is going to be kind of a first time as far as content, which is cool. And then we get your name out there and the book, and then people can start. And you're in Texas, right? You're where
Yeah.
you're local. Okay.
Mhm.
So people can start looking into it and get ready for April 8th and learn even more than maybe they realized they could, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I love that about children's books. They're not just for kids.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. Everybody, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again, Meg, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll talk soon.
Katie, thank you so much for having me and good luck with everything you're diving into with the creative nonfiction you're making and
Thank you. I made the face that just really, that vulnerable piece of me that's like, this is a challenge. This is something new. It's taking me a little bit longer than it did to write my first book, but I like the challenge. It's good. So thank you. I need the wishes and the good luck. I appreciate it.
you got it. Thank you.
Okay. See you later. Take care.
You too.
Bye.